today I will going to discuss the lesson 2, which is the modifiers of human act. When we say human acts, these are the actions that people do accompanied by knowledge and freedom. Knowledge where you know what you are doing, and freedom where you chose to do it. Because of this, a person becomes morally responsible for their actions. However, there are some factors and instances that could affect the person's actions and decisions, and these factors are called the modifiers of human act. So according to Paniza 1964, there are 4 modifiers of human act, and these are ignorance, passion, fear, and violence. So these modifiers influence whether an act is fully voluntary, partly voluntary, and involuntary. So when we say fully voluntary, the persons are fully responsible for their actions, while partly voluntary, these are the persons who are partially responsible for their actions, and when we say involuntary, it refers to little or not responsible for their actions. So meaning, these factors can either increase, reduce, or remove the blame to the person who made the actions. So the first modifiers of human act is ignorance. Ignorance means the absence of knowledge, classified as invincible, affected, and supine or gross ignorance. So later, atin na silang isa-isahang i-discuss, but before that, let's just focus first on ignorance. So ignorance affects a person's responsibility because it determines whether a person knows what they are doing was wrong or right. So para masaktan dyan, let's just put it into example. Like for example, ang tourist kay ganapay siya basura near sa beach. And then, buyag siya sa tag-iya, and ano maglabay siya dito, and because it's bawal, and his response was, wala siya kabalo na bawal di ay because there are no signs or rules that is being posted, so that's why he throws his trash. So means the person has no way of knowing, and that makes him ignorant for his actions. Let's proceed with the first type of ignorance, which is the invincible ignorance. So this is kind of ignorance that a person cannot overcome even if the person tries. In simple terms, the person has no way of knowing the truth. So because of this, the acts of the person becomes involuntary and is not morally responsible for his or her actions. So example, when a child touches something dangerous like mga poisonous chemicals without knowing that it is harmful for them, so the act of the child is considered involuntary because the child really doesn't understand the situation, and maybe her parents doesn't show her the thing that she must do. So that's why the child is not morally accountable for their actions. So the next type of ignorance is the invincible ignorance. So this type of ignorance can be corrected, meaning the person could learn but did not try. That's why a person is still responsible and they should have known better. Example, a student cheats and claims they didn't know it was wrong, even though rules were available. So even though sa may reasons na nung mag-cheat na, mali man hapon siya. And every teacher doesn't want to tolerate cheating, because at the very beginning, we already know that cheating is wrong. Even if the teacher doesn't say it aloud, it is also our initiative not to cheat because it is a good thing to do. So the third type of ignorance, which is the affected ignorance. The person chooses to stay ignorant so they can do something wrong more easily. Naa sila chance to know the truth, but they intentionally avoided it to make the bad action so that they are less guilty about it. Like for example, someone refuses to read rules so they can break them without feeling guilty. So the last type of ignorance, which is the supine or gross ignorance. This is caused by carelessness or lack of effort to know what is right. For example, ignoring basic duties or responsibilities due to laziness. And also for another example, a student fails an exam because they did not study at all. So the student is responsible for the results of his actions because of his laziness to study, so in result, he failed his exam. Let's proceed to the second modifiers of human acts. which is passion. Passion refers to strong emotions such as love, desire, joy, anger, fear, and sadness. So these emotions can influence on how a person thinks and acts, and also affect how much control a person has. Because the stronger the emotions, the more it can affect our decision making. Two types of passion, the antecedent and consequent passion. So let's start first with antecedent passion. So this type of passion happens before the action, meaning the emotion comes first, then it influences the decision. Like for example, a person shouts hurtful words because of a sudden anger. So the emotion comes first and the action was not fully planned. So the second type of passion, which is the consequent passion. So this type of passion happens after a person chooses to entertain or keep the emotion, meaning the person allows or encourages the emotions. They chose to act based on it. Like for example, a person continues to feed their anger and plans revenge. So the person is no longer controlled by emotions, they are now choosing to act on it. So let's proceed to fear, the third modifiers of human act. Fear is the disturbance of the mind due to an impending danger of harm. Fear affects a person's freedom when making decisions. There are two types of fear, the normal fear and intense fear. The normal fear is the type of person that is afraid but still be able to think. So the action is still voluntary because the person is responsible. For example, a student lied because they are afraid of punishment, but the thing is they still choose to lie. The second type of fear, which is the intense fear, where fear becomes overwhelming. The actions may become involuntary, but the person is less or not responsible. Like for example, a person panics in danger and reacts without thinking. And the last modifiers of human act is violence. Violence is defined as any physical force exerted on a person to compel him to act against his will. The actions becomes involuntary, so the person is not morally accountable. For example, a person is forced at gunpoint to commit a crime, so the person did not really choose to do it and their freedom was taken away. Means no freedom also means no responsibility. Whatever one fails to do but which should have been done is also imputable to him. It also means that we are responsible not only for the bad things we do, but also to the good things that we fail to do. So aside from actions we commit, the book also explains that we are responsible for actions we fail to do. When does omission become strong? The omission becomes strong when a person fails to do something good or right that they should have done. Because a sin of omission happens when the person knows what is right, the person is ready to act, but the person chooses not to act. In the book of Pontius Pilato, they know that Jesus is innocent and had the authority to release him, but still chooses not to act, meaning he became morally responsible for what happened to Jesus Christ. So even if you don't directly do the wrong act, failing to stop it when you still can makes you accountable. I guess that's the end of my report. Thank you for listening, everyone.